Good morning, Taste Buds. I'm Michelle Bernstein. Cabbage, chard, kale, spinach, watercress, escarole, and collards are just a few of what we call leafy greens. Join me to celebrate these greens that can be delicious. I promise. Today on SoFlo Taste. How fun is that? I'm Chef Michelle Bernstein. Welcome to SoFlo Taste, and welcome, of course, to the Goya Kitchen here at J World in Coconut Creek. Growing up, how many times did someone tell you, eat your greens? Well, the answer for all of us was lots and lots. But the trouble was, the greens they made, unless you were lucky, like I was, were not very good quality in the first place, and probably overcooked. So today I thought it would be fun to cook what's still good for you, but this time with much better taste. So let's get cooking. The first one might be a little surprising. We're gonna wrap salmon with cabbage, and it is so good. You won't believe how delicious this is. So you start out, the best is Savoy, but you can use a Napa cabbage as well. This is a Savoy cabbage, and you know it is because it has this kind of a wrinkle leaf to it, and it's just beautiful. All of these cruciferous vegetables are just so yummy, and they're great for wrapping, they're great to eat raw, they're great sauteed, even grilled. Anyway, I'm taking the core, if you were wondering, out of the cabbage, and that's all you do to start taking the leaves out one by one. And then what you do is you cook these in some boiling salted water, and then you take the hardest part out. If you're gonna wrap these with anything, if you're making stuffed cabbage the traditional way, or putting anything inside of a cabbage really, you wanna take this hard core piece out of it because it makes it much softer. And you basically just cook it a minute at the most, you know, just seconds, really to get it nice and tender. So this is a little trick. These are 2 pieces of plastic wrap. And these are 2 pieces of beautiful, beautiful salmon. The salmon we got at Delaware Chicken Farm and Seafood Market. You can pick this beautiful fish or really anything that they sell up curbside at 4191 State Road 7 in Hollywood, or you can always go to DelawareChicken.com, or you can call them at 954-983-6831. Place an order with them. They are the best. Tell them I sent you and send them my love. All right, so you season up, in this case salmon, really well with salt and pepper. I'm guessing this is about a 6 to 7 ounce piece of salmon. Okay, we're gonna form a nice tight little roll with our cabbage. So I have a little tiny piece of butter, it's not even a half a tablespoon down, on the plastic wrap so nothing sticks, and when it steams in a little bit of butter. If you're not using butter these days, you can use ghee, coconut butter, coconut oil, or regular olive oil. Place the cabbage down so that you're bringing it together so there's not many holes. Not that it really matters, but I kind of like everything to look nice and neat. And of course, after you cook your cabbage, see how we did with paper towels? You want it to be really dry when you roll this up. All right, so that's down nice and flat on our plastic wrap. It's not special plastic wrap, it's just plastic wrap. I've cooked my favorite mushrooms for this dish, which are shiitakes, with a little bit of shallots or onions. If you love mushrooms, just go crazy and add a mix of mushrooms. So I'm gonna put my salmon right in the middle of the cabbage, like so. Add the dill to my salmon, and then the tarragon to my salmon. And then I'm gonna add some mushrooms. It really gives this whole dish a beautiful earthy quality. I'm gonna add a little more salt, a little more pepper just over the top of the whole darn thing, and then I'm gonna use the plastic wrap to kind of help me roll it. So I'm gonna first tuck in the cabbage, and then I'm gonna use this plastic wrap to kind of help me gently roll this into a nice tight cabbage roll. And then I'm gonna push on it like so, kind of like making sushi. And then I'm gonna roll the whole thing up. I'm gonna take the sides, and as I do this, the whole thing tightens and comes together. That's it. The rest is in the cooking. So make sure we put the seam side down, jump into the next one. Again, if you missed that part, we're gonna roll the whole thing together, put the sides together, use the plastic wrap to be my little cheat to help me bring the roll of cabbage together. Spread it out a little bit and roll the whole darn thing up like so. Again, pulling the sides together and then tucking them underneath. I'm going to place them in a steamer. Now you can use a bamboo steamer, really any kind of a steamer. I fake steamers at my house all the time. I put aluminum foil in balls in the bottom of a pot, put very little water, let it boil, and it kind of makes a steamer. But this is the one and probably only time you'll ever hear me say this, and I can't believe I'm saying it on air. You can cook this in the microwave. You can cook it for, I know, don't be mad at me, but you can, and believe it or not, in 2.5 minutes, you can have the most beautiful fish you've ever had in the microwave, because not only does the cabbage protect it, but the plastic wrap does. But you didn't hear me say that. I didn't say it. All right, I'm putting this lid on because you're really supposed to only steam this. Turning the power on, and there we go. So I'm gonna guess that this will cook in approximately 6 to 8 minutes. I don't want it to be well done at all, but let's make it delicious. So just so you know, I'm gonna just tell you real quickly the sauce that I love to serve with this, and it's a little fancy, but it's really easy to make. It has a fancy name. It's called beurre rouge. Rouge is the color red, beurre is beurre, so beurre rouge. So what I have in this pot is a reduction of shallots, you can use onions, a bay leaf, and a couple peppercorns, a little bit of red wine, 1 cup, a little bit of red wine vinegar, and a tiny pinch of sugar. Reduce down until it gets to about like that, and that's probably about 1/3 of a cup, maybe 1/4 of a cup. And then I'm gonna whisk in, put some cold butter and strain it, and when you come back, let's see how that salmon turns out, and hopefully I'll have a nice thick sauce. More leafy greens to come, so come right back.
There's still more from the Goya Kitchen at J.A. World and Michelle.
Welcome back to SoFlo Taste, where I'm giving you some leafy greens recipes. All of my greens recipes are available on the SoFlo Show's webpage. Just scan this quick response code and you're off to SoFlo Show's recipe page. You'll also see it on the ingredient list throughout the show. Now back to my efforts for you to embrace leafy greens. Let's check on our salmon. So we, in the earlier side, decided to wrap some salmon with cabbage and mushrooms, and hoping this is enticing to you because it's one of my favorite recipes. So remember I told you a little bit about the sauce, beurre rouge. We took the reduction of the shallots and the bay leaf and the peppercorns, red wine, little tiny bit of red wine vinegar and sugar, reduced it down. I finished it with 2 tablespoons of butter, and that's what it looks like. It's just beautiful. So let's take one of these little beautiful packages. It will be hot, just warning you. And go ahead and cut it off on one side, and it should slide right out. So I want to show it to you, so let's see if we can go ahead and make a nice cut. So this is how I eat my fish. This is medium rare. It's so pretty. And if you like it more well done, I steamed this for 5 minutes. So if you want it to be fully cooked, steam it for 8 to 10, but don't go above 10 minutes, and you'll be fully cooked. But look how beautiful this is. And then you take the beurre rouge, and you just spoon it over the top. If you want to get a little fancy, you can add some herbs. As always, I love some crunchy salt over the top. And there you have it. This is very much a restaurant dish, but I think it's really simple, and I made it the other day at home, and it really didn't take me long at all. Just cook the mushrooms ahead of time and the cabbage ahead of time, and you can roll this up in no time. Okay, so that's that. The next dish I wanted to teach you was beautiful braised Swiss chard. Now, I love rainbow Swiss chard. Let me show you what Swiss chard looks like. especially rainbow Swiss chard. So beautiful. It has the colors of a rainbow, hence its name. And it's just gorgeous. And I don't know if you've seen this at the market and wondered what to do with it, but rainbow chard has the most beautiful taste. It's very delicate and it has a little bit of saltiness to it. It's really one of my absolute favorites. So all you do, you take the center part out and you slice it really thin like this. Let me just show you real quick. So just with your hands, you can basically just push on the leaves and they basically come right off. And then you're left with the center, and you take that center and you just cut it up in small pieces like so. So once you have that, I've already started cooking some onions. I like to use 1 onion per every bunch of Swiss chard or rainbow chard. So once the onions get a little bit soft, we're going to not only add the center, which is basically like the backbone of the chard, we're also going to add a little bit of garlic, about a tablespoon of minced garlic. Let's go ahead and cook this, and this is only cooked in olive oil. I really wouldn't put any butter in this, it doesn't need it. The chard is so beautiful. Let's just let it shine through. So once the stems start getting a little bit softer, which really only takes about a minute or 2, then you add leaves. Now, the leaves are rather cumbersome, especially these are sliced up, and there's a lot of them. So I kind of love the idea of adding them little by little because they start getting very soft. And if you add it maybe in 50% and then 50%, you have some leaves that are beautifully soft and some leaves that have the tiniest, tiny bit of crisp in them still. If you want the whole thing to be soft, you can absolutely cover the whole thing, let it sweat, and everything will be beautifully soft. But this dish is one of my absolute, truly favorite side dishes. Really, I can't think of anything it doesn't go with. When people talk of needing more dark, leafy greens in your diet, that's what today is all about. This is it. This Swiss chard is so good for you, and it's also yummy, so why not? All right, so I think I'm about halfway cooked here. I'm gonna go ahead and add as much as I can into the pan. Let's add a little bit of kosher salt. This is the first time I'm adding salt to this, and not much. There is, like I told you, a natural kind of saltiness to Swiss chard. I'm also gonna add a little bit of black pepper. And to me, right now, it needs the tiniest drizzle of olive oil right over the top. And in about 3 to 4 minutes, we should have a beautiful braised Swiss chard that I can show you. So come right back, I'll finish this up, and then we'll jump into a recipe that I was pretty well known for in a restaurant that I used to own called Crumb, and it's just delicious. So come right back for even more leafy greens. You ever wonder how to make kale chips? Well, I'm going to show you.
SoFlo Home Project is next, right after SoFlo Taste.
SoFlo Taste will return right after this. Welcome back to SoFlo Taste. We're here at JA World in Coconut Creek. For information about this educational wonderland, go to jasouthflorida.org or call 954-979-7100. Now back to the food. Tell me this doesn't look inviting. These are the rainbow chard leaves. The center we sauteed with onion and a little garlic. Then we added the leaves. I didn't add anything else. If you want to give it a little spritz of lemon, that's fine. But I just think this is so yummy. It's a bowl of love. The last thing I wanted to make with you are kale chips. So I want to show you how to make a quick kale chip. And believe it or not, you can use both dinosaur kale or the regular lacinato curly kale. Doesn't really matter. The one thing you make sure you do though is you want to wash it real good, just soak it in nice, really cold water. And then, I don't know if you have one of these, but I love my salad spinner. So throw your still damp kale into a salad spinner and go crazy. All right, so make sure it's really good and dry, and then put it into a bowl. Now I would do the same thing with both types of kale. Now you can have some fun. I'm adding a little bit of oil, some olive oil. I'm gonna do salt, and I love za'atar. It's really up to you. Add it in, toss it around, and I have a little cookie sheet over here that's already sprayed down with a little bit of cooking spray. Throw it on here, but make sure you don't overcrowd your pan. So it's really important you have space. You see that? You need space for the air surrounding it to get good and crispy, and you throw it in the oven. And I'm going to show you my two kinds of crispy kale chips. I've been eating them, so we don't have that many. I'm sorry. They're just so good. So here on my right is the dinosaur kale, which by the way comes out better, and I'll tell you why, because it's not curly. So you have these big, beautiful pieces. So good. It's better than a potato chip because mainly it has the flavorings that I love. And then you have the curly lacinato kale, which is interesting. It soaks up a little more of the oil, but equally crunchy and so delicious. So these I made with a smoky paprika and salt and oil. Those I made with a za'atar. Now we have kale chips. So I actually wanted to teach you a dish. I used to call it just a chicken and kale bowl. It was like a Buddha bowl that I made at a restaurant that I had called Crumb. So you take chicken breasts or thighs, up to you, but it's a little cleaner, so I do breasts. And I basically just put honey mixed with a little of my favorite spice called Ras el Hanout, which is a beautiful spice. And I thought I'd recreate that spice for a drizzle. So I have some plain yogurt here, not Greek. I'm going to add the Ras el Hanout, a little bit of honey, just a little, not much, a little bit of water to make it actually become a drizzle, and of course some salt and some pepper. I like adding a little bit of oil to my honey as well, and yogurt, of course, because the combination of all these things together makes for an absolutely delicious sauce. Now, if you want to make things easier for yourself, this can also be the marinade. Like you can add the honey and all these other things onto your chicken and it'll be fabulous. So that's really up to you. That goes on a little cookie sheet just like this. You bake it in the oven. It really only took 12 minutes. In this bowl, I have some rice and quinoa. I cook them separately and I mix them together and put them in the bowl. What I'm going to do is take some of the curly kale that I had. I cut it up really nice and small, and I'm going to make a salad out of that. You know, bowls have saved me, especially in the last couple of years of pandemic. I just wasn't in the mood to eat anything too heavy, too rich, and this just, it was filling, it's made me sated, and it was just so tasty. So a little lemon oil and salt in my salad, and then I'm just going to slice my chicken into a nice bias slice. And by the way, the yogurt just makes it so beautifully tender. It's such a great marinade. So I'll put that right next to the rice. And then when you come back, we'll top that with some radishes and of course our kale chips, and we'll come up with a beautiful bowl together. So come right back. Welcome back to SoFlo Taste and our show all about greens. So look at these gorgeous kale chips. They really are delicious, trust me. So yummy. So here I made my Buddha bowl, and it is the shredded kale, the radishes, the yogurt marinated chicken, and the rice and quinoa. We're just gonna put a little bit of the drizzle of the yogurt that has, of course, the Ras el Hanout spice to it, which is a lovely warm spice, a little olive oil and honey, and then top this whole thing with kale chips. And here I have the two different kale chips, the flat leaf and the curly. Yum. just want to dive right into that. Well, thank you so much for coming along with me today. Leafy greens can be delicious, and we know they're good for you. So try any of today's recipes and taste for yourself. Next week, I'll be all about melons with a melon medley. It's a great time of the year to enjoy SoFlo melons, and I've got recipes that put them in a spotlight. So join me for a very special show next time. It'll be one in a melon. Now let's begin on design expert Elena Capra. Good morning, Elena. What you got for us today on SoFlo Home Project?
Hi, Michelle. Good morning. So today we are at the beautiful Vizcaya Museum and Gardens. Coming up on SoFlo Home Project, we show you what it takes to maintain and preserve this gorgeous 10-acre garden here in South Florida.
Oh, thanks, Elena. We love Vizcaya, a SoFlo treasure. We'll be watching. So, taste buds, thanks again for watching. I love our time together, so please be smart, be safe, and be vaccinated. And I'll see you next week. Now, stay tuned for Elena Capra at Vizcaya on SoFlo Home Project. Goodbye. Mwah. Good health and good taste. It's time to leaf.